Thank you, first of all, Exchange for Media, for having me. Am I audible at the back? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Dr. Batra isn't here today. His mom's unwell, and I perfectly understand that he's away. But please thank him from my side. I'm not sure I'll be there in the evening, but I'm sure we'll catch up. I've gotten to India about 6 months or 7 months back from Vietnam, and I think the first invitation which came to me from Exchange for Media was for a CMO summit on emerging trends in marketing. And I very politely declined that. I said I was a marketer 8 years back, and I really don't know what's happening in India now. But when this invite came and it said trust and authenticity, I said, yes, this is something I can sink my teeth into. Possibly I have some stories to tell which are relevant, and we will know, especially from the students at the back, whether they made sense to you. Yeah. One other thing, as I joined Perfetti in 1999 as the management trainee. At that time, we were about a 100 crore company, and people didn't know our brands. So when I got selected with PVM, obviously family asked, kahan kaam kar rahe hoge? And I said, please tell everybody I work for a sugar confectionery company. Because part of me didn't want to boast about our brands or whatever, and then my dad's in the Air Force, so somebody came and visited home, and this uncle asked, and my dad very proudly said, sugar confectionery company, man. This gentleman in Hindi, but he said something to the effect, ki, kahan pe hai bete ki bakery shop? Yeah, so, and that incident scarred me for life, so whether you like it or not, I need to tell you a little bit more about who we are before we get into the topic of authenticity and trust. So these are our global brands. Yeah, we're an Italian multinational to begin with. We acquired Van Melle in 2001. We acquired Chupa Chups in 2006. And very recently, we acquired the gum business of Mondelez in North America and Europe. So we've grown through acquisition. We are almost 3.5, 4 billion euro now. We have multiple manufacturing locations across the world. We are in about 150 countries. 3 of these manufacturing locations are in India, right? And we have our head office in Amsterdam. Yeah, in India, we began the journey in 1994. These were our first 2 brands which we launched, Big Bubble and Centerfresh. And we have a host of brands now. So we have Alpenliebe, we have Chupa, we have Happydent, there's Mentos brands. Some of them are also available on your table. Please do try them. Yeah. If you consume all of them, the hotel orders more. We get more revenue. So please don't leave without candies in your pockets, even if you don't consume them now. This is our India map. So we have 3 manufacturing locations, one just down the road in Manesar. We have one in Rudrapur, which is near Nainital, and one in Chennai. Yeah, and our head office, corporate office, is in Global Business Park. And we're about 3,500 crores in India. We make almost 350 tons of product. So that's really about us in a nutshell. Just a couple of both slides. We're the market leader in a highly fragmented category. Yeah, it's an easy business to come into. Entry barriers are low. That's why you see a lot of unorganized players in our sector. So to have 30, 28, 29% share is actually quite remarkable, even though I have to say it myself. The next guy, Parley, is almost 1/3 our size. Yeah? And we have big players like P&G with Vicks. We have Mazdigli with their products like Boomer, who are relatively small in this market. ITC made a foray in this space as well, and they're really, really small shares. So we're extremely proud of the legacy which PVM India has created. Yeah? Now let's get into the topic of the day. I have a half an hour slot, right? So I'll try and keep it to that. Let me just, before I get into authenticity and trust, I think one of the fair questions you will ask is, what is our credibility to talk about this topic? This is the reality of our business. I know that, as you're aware, most of the confectionery which is in India is sold at the 1 rupee price point. Till about 2013, it was 50 paisa. So thank God we are away from the 50 paisa now in the 1 rupee. Which is where I hardly wear a suit. I usually go to office in jeans and t-shirt because वो 50 पैसे 1 रुपए में उतना ही मिलता है. But since I was coming for this event, I thought we'll make that exception. And the other part is that our purchase is always impulse, right? So nobody kind of goes to the shop or changes a shop if they don't find a product, looking for our product somewhere else. Ki, oh, Mentos nahi mili is dukaan pe, to 4 dukanein aur. That doesn't work, right, in our category. So it's highly, highly impulse. We are low price point, we are high impulse. And very often the typical purchase behavior is a child who's walking back from school with 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees in her pocket. She will pick up some lollipop, some candy, unfortunately some packet of chips, yeah. But that's the way confectionery and this impulse purchase category is bought. So the right question a lot of people will ask is that, when it's high impulse, when it's such low involvement, and when it's 1 rupee, do brands really need to be authentic? Yeah? Do they need to have trust quotients with the customers? And surprisingly, the answer is yes, simply because of the scale at which we operate, right? So, well, the chart shows you some nice numbers. It's basically we are available in close to 57 lakh outlets in India. Yeah, that's a huge number. That means that the trade trusts you to keep your product. Yeah? If without that implicit trust, they would not buy you, because the lowest common denominator out of 8 million outlets, almost 6 million stock a product. 1.1 of them or 1.2 million of those outlets we reach directly. Yeah? And the sheer number of consumer touch points, I think, is unparalleled. Yeah? Also because of the fact that we are mostly at the 1 rupee price point. The other more important part to the trust is that when you are in any other European country where modern trade is prevalent, confectionery buying is always a bipartite decision. No child goes to a modern trade outlet and picks up confectionery, right? It's usually with the mother or with the father now, and they pester the parent to buy. In India, it's a single party decision, the child and the child alone. And brands owe it to their consumers, especially because they're young kids, to give great quality product. Yeah? So you will not have any other company with that kind of responsibility, where a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid makes an independent purchase decision on a product which is made in a factory, and then she consumes it, right? So I guess in some way I'm trying to convince all of you that when I say authenticity and trust, you please believe what I have to say in the next few slides. Yeah, there's some caveats, and this is my request. So I've basically tried to craft a story on authenticity and trust. You can obviously look these up. There's a lot of reading material around it. And the stuff I have put down here obviously will not be there, because these are my story and these are my learnings. Yeah, I've deliberately put in some stark contrasts to make a point, not to hurt anybody. It's just humor of the presentation so that you can remember. I'm hoping that there are a lot of marketers who are listening to this presentation. Yeah? So whether you are here or whether you're online, and therefore it's crafted from a marketer's perspective. Yeah? Brand trust is not only about marketing activity. I'm sure there are loads of things, but I think from a takeaway from this group, it's relevant that I speak to this target audience. And it is my hope that you kind of internalize the learnings which are here. Yeah? And if you don't find them useful, please put them aside. Yeah? Okay. So 4 or 5 things which have been, which to me are important for brand trust. The first one is product intimacy. There are many brand managers here. I know that all of you understand the consumer really well. When you're launching a new product, there's a lot of research, there's a need gap, there is segmentation, there's positioning, you work with the ad agency on a great ad. In my experience, not enough emphasis has been given to understand the product itself as to what you're launching, yeah? And not superficially. Yeah? Of course, you know what a toothpaste is made of, but do you know exactly what the ingredients are? Do you know how much sugar is in it? Do you know what other stuff goes in it? Do you know what the material of the packaging is? It's really important for a marketer to understand this context. Yeah? Simply because if you start understanding your product, you will be able to create a product for the market which is, let's say, has your full focus on delivering a very, very good narrative of, right? Also on the production side, I know a lot of the guys attend consumer groups. Yeah, they attend, go to the trade and talk to them, but not enough people go to the factory and understand, especially in terms of a physical product, what it's made on, what are the lines, what is the packing machine, what is the speed. All of that is important. Yeah? So let's take the example of Center Fresh. Yeah? It's a 3-gram gum. Yeah? It's got filling inside. But if I want to have a better splash in the product, what do I tell the guy? Yeah? If I don't understand what's going in it, or what is the bricks, and how do you increase or decrease the viscosity, I will not be able to tell him anything. If I don't understand machine speed, and I don't have that ownership, it's very difficult to tell and customize a product which will deliver the product benefit. Yeah? So one of the things which I learned in Perfetti very early on, because the couple of brands that I started with didn't do much advertising work and I had a lot of time on my hands, was to go to the factory, go to the supply chain side of things, meet the suppliers. Yeah, lots of people who work in foods, for example, while they work on developing a particular recipe, they don't meet flavor houses. They don't meet people who supply stuff to them to really understand what goes behind it. Yeah, the other aspect of understanding a product is understanding the P&L behind it. What's the composition? What's the percentage involved in a specific ingredient? Can you up and down it? What delivers a good consumer benefit? I think that's the starting point in the genesis of launching a new product and taking ownership and understanding what's behind it, which will help you craft a narrative which will foster, let's say, brand trust going forward. Yeah? The second one is having a biased and an opinionated marketer. Yeah? Let me give you an example. Lots of people have seen the Center Shock ad. Historically, it does the rounds on many of the viral show reels. It's 2003. Perfetti wasn't well known. We did that ad with Ogilvy. I remember seeing it as a brand manager. It came to our office. I took it home. My wife, everybody was kind of super happy. My wife said, "Kya, terrible ad." Yeah, so, I had half a mind to tell her, "You have a very poor choice," but there was an argument I was not going to win, and it was self-defeating, so I did not go there. But the point I'm trying to make is everybody has an opinion on what you do as a marketer. Everybody, right? And unfortunately, many marketing heads also become managing directors, and then they also really trouble their marketing heads a lot because of their own view on things. But that's a story for a different time. Here, I think what's relevant is to say that many times we look at data and we draw two different kinds of conclusions from it, right? And in my office, many times I've had a very opposing point of view to mine, but I always value a opinionated marketer. Because I believe that she really has it in her to deliver good for the brand, even though I vociferously disagree with her, right? I much rather have somebody like that than somebody who kind of, rolls over and says, "Yes, I agree to what you're saying." Yeah, because I think in that space where she is able to completely take ownership of the product and then, make all the stakeholders believe in what she is doing. Right? It's important because brand trust is not built only with the consumer. Yeah? It's first built with the trade. It's built with your own sales team. Yeah? You can have the best possible product, but if your team doesn't believe in launching that product, if they don't then go and convince the trade that it's a great product, you have a hope in hell. So, like I said, if you link the first part to the second part, you have a great combination of somebody who's complete knowledge of the product, owns it, believes passionately in it, makes a good pitch for it, and then goes and launches it. Yeah? It really unlocks the potential of the product, and obviously when you understand the intricacies of the product, you understand the insight behind it much better. Yeah? If you don't do that, obviously the insight's wishy-washy, the brief to the agency is terrible, and what you get is a very poor commercial. Yeah? So it's important that you have that kind of marketing team which really backs themselves. Yeah? To deliver a good product and then believes in what they're doing. The next one is consistency. This is in all the books. You can't have a product and then keep changing tack, right? You have to kind of stay the course. You have to look at all the consumer touch points and see whether you're being consistent. Yeah? And lots of brand managers now have this whole variant strategy, sales Niori, let's launch X variant, Y variant. It's really short term in my view. All my gray hair are testament to all that I have done before. Yeah, you really need to back your core product to make it successful. In the year 2003, when I moved to marketing, my first brand was a small brand called Marbles. There's not much work happening on it. Then it was a brand called Chlormint, and there also I was not looking at advertising, I was looking at some of the other stuff, right? Big Bubble was, I think, 2005, where this is the first time a brand was given to me, and it is a kid's brand, right? So whenever we made communication, unfortunately, it always had all the models were kids. Yeah, the story invariably began in a classroom or in some such. Yeah, and I used to basically tell McCann at the time, Prasoon, a lot that, please can we have some, adult advertising on my brands. I'm tired to go with these kids. We finally agreed कि ठीक है, next time we shoot an ad for Big Bubble, whatever happens, whatever the situation, we will begin on a beach, yeah? and then we will cut to a classroom. But at least let's start somewhere nice. Yeah? So it was said in a fun way, but that was something which was really, stuff like that really hurts the brand. Right? Because you need to be sure what your brand stands for. Yeah? And I have 3 commercials. They're long commercials. At that time, we still made 45, 50, 60-second commercials. These guys don't do that now. So just to show you, the kind of stuff that we did and possibly what you shouldn't do. Yeah? So just back to back, I'll play the 2 commercials, then I'll play a 3rd one, and I'll just tell you the story around it. Yeah. Yeah, so this was, from a creative standpoint, I'm expecting a lot of judgmental looks here, but it was very basic for children then. The idea, what I'm really trying to share with you is that, if you remember the baseline, it's doston ka dost, dushmanon ka dushman, right? There was a couple of other baselines before this. We came to this one. It didn't work. I was a new brand manager. What does a new brand manager do? The brand become fuddy-duddy, we need to change, we need to do X, Y, Z. So we threw the baby out with the bathwater. We said, okay, we'll make a new commercial, right? And we made this one.
Big Bubble, अब पहले से भी ज़्यादा बड़ा.
So the baseline was Fulau Kya. Also did not move the brand, but okay, we thought it was a good commercial at the time. Then there was a time when I really thought I need to do something to turn around the brand, and I remember this discussion with Prasoon that we need to kind of upage it a little bit, and tell a story, and you see the animated commercial at the bottom, and I'll play it in a minute. So this was the one we did. This is something I'm really proud of. We stayed with this positioning for a while, and there was a revival in the brand. Yeah. So, and oh, sorry.
एक चिड़िया रानी बड़ी सयानी अंडे दिए खास. एक अजनबी अंडा लेकिन लुढ़क के आया पास. उसमें से निकला कछुआ. पर जय हो पंखों वाली मैया, तूने उसे भी गोद लिया. फिर एक दिन
आवारे बाल गोपाल, उड़ने का वक्त आ गया, नर्वस होइएगा नहीं. चलते मुसाफिर उड़ गई रे उड़ने वाली चिड़िया. मम्मी भैया से कह दीजिए वो डॉक्टर है, उड़ नहीं पाएंगे. नहीं बिटवा. अरे कछुआ भैया भी दौलत है.
बिग बबूल, यह बड़े काम की चीज.
Yeah, when you have a lyricist like Prasoon who works in your ads, you obviously get great storytelling and great lyrics. So this one did quite well for us. We turned around the brand. We stayed with Bade Kaam Ki Cheez for a while. As you see, it's a stark contrast from the children advertising. It's cartoon, but it still appeals to a lot of this audience, as I can see. And that kind of helped us transition the brand from what we were doing to for at least a few glory years of Big Bubble. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. The last couple of things on brand trust, recognition of brand assets. I think there is a lot less emphasis given on this than it was at an earlier time. I remember it was the year 2010, and I was interviewing somebody for a cat head position. And this person came from, I think, one of the bigger FMCGs, and he mentioned that, when they make an ad for a particular brand, there is a product window in which, there are these lemons rolling, and they have a direct correlation to that particular shot with brand recognition. And in 2010, in my mind, I thought, this is not what Perfetti is. We don't do this kind of advertising. We believe in breaking the norm. But over years, I've realized that there is a certain relevance to having brand recall. In today's day, age, and clutter, you can make great advertising, but if the consumer doesn't remember who you are, then it's all gone to waste, right? So it's important that when we look at our brands, and we should really, really zero in on what are the assets for the brand that the consumer has a recall for. And that's something which layer upon layer will build trust. Yeah, we don't value recall enough, and I think in the next few years, marketers will realize to their own peril that that's a fatal mistake, in terms of brand development and growing brand trust. There's a well-documented case study on Tropicana. You guys can look it up on the net. They changed packaging from this one to that one. They spent close to $5 million with an agency to do that. In 3 weeks, they had to go back to their earlier design, because when that was put on shelf, there was no recognition of the brand, right? So relaunch for the sake of relaunch, not that relevant. You need to be very, very sure of what you're doing. This is not to say that all of what I'm saying is black and white, guys. Obviously, sometimes there is a need to revamp, do stuff, right? And you have to really look at your own journey and the journey of the brand to figure out where you're at. But in general, when you do stuff like this, you need to be extra, extra cautious, and you need to really cross the T's and dot the I's before you go ahead. Yeah. Last slide on this topic is lots of marketers are really full of themselves, myself included, right? We think our brands can do everything and go in every space, yeah? And that is simply not true. Yeah? Every brand has a particular space where it exists in. For example, many people ask me now, why don't we launch fortified gummy bears? It's the whole new rage, right? Lots of e-commerce players selling these gummy bottles. And my question to them is, which brand? Yeah? Alpenlibe certainly doesn't have the ability. 15 सालों से दूध घी की टॉफी बोलते आ रहे हैं, अब सडनली क्या बोलें कि अब सेहत के लिए अच्छी है, कैसे चलेगा, right? So you have to be very, very careful. It's incredibly, let's say, attractive for the marketer to think, कर सकते हैं, yeah? But it will hurt your brand. It will hurt not only what you launch, but it will hurt your base brand. Yeah? So you have to have these guardrails in place, and sometimes it looks really, really tempting to let an opportunity go. But more often than not, it's the right thing to do. Yeah? So as marketers, we must realize that our brands operate in a certain sphere. Outside of that, we don't have the credibility. We'll possibly have to spend a lot of money to establish credentials, and it's simply not worth it. Right? One such example is Centerfresh. The reason I bring it up is that Centerfresh is almost ubiquitous. It's a 25-year-old brand. We sell it in jars. You don't see too much of Centerfresh in modern trade. You can imagine every meeting for the last 10 years we have is how can we upgrade the price point, make it more upmarket. And there were many ways to do it, but we resisted, simply because there is inherent to the brand is center filling. It's a filled gum. There's no easy way to put it in a pouch and put it on a shelf. Yeah, till the time we had the right opportunity with Centerfresh mints, right, which is basically these compressed mint tablets, which are now coming in these containers, right? And we've been able to successfully, let's say, transition the equity of Centerfresh gum onto this product, because it's a 3-layer product. It's got filling inside, and it stays true to the nature of the brand. So it's to my mind, at least from a very biased perspective, a story of a brand which has transitioned well into a variant strategy, or grown outside its boundaries, but still remained within the space where the consumer allows the brand to operate. Right? for the topic, that's about it. I'm ahead of time, so just a summary slide for all of you. These are the 4 or 5 minutes more. A summary slide for all of you, which is to say these are the 5 things in my view which contribute to brand trust and authenticity. I come to a forum, we should see more ads. So there's one case study I would like to present, and maybe show you some commercials and also drive home the point on some of these, let's say, top lines which I have given you, and possibly just for you to remember this better. Yeah. So this is the story of Happydent. Obviously, it's a well-established brand now. I hope some of you know it. But when we launched Happydent in the year 2001, we really had a sluggish start. As you can see from the graph, for 4 years, we were extremely challenged, right? Now, when you launch a gum which is functional in nature, typically what would any marketer do, right? They would typically want to talk about the product benefit. That's the right thing to do, right? So this is our launch commercial.
मैं भी हर समय खूबसूरत दिखना चाहती हूँ, लेकिन बिना मुस्कुराहट खूबसूरती किस काम की। दिन भर खाने पीने से दांतों पर लगने वाले दाग और पीलेपन का डर।
पेश है हैप्पीडेंट व्हाइट, एक सुपर गम जो दांतों पर जमने वाले प्लाक को कम करने में मदद करे और दांतों को रखे स्वच्छ और सफेद। दांत ना पीले पड़े, ना लगे दाग। हैप्पीडेंट व्हाइट च्युइंग गम।
As you can imagine, sales को कुछ नहीं हुआ इस साले ad के बाद, simply because there were too many people in this space, right? What credibility did a gum have to talk about this? There was, although we cued in the fact that you can't carry your toothpaste and everything, but it still didn't make any dent to brand sales. In fact, there was a time when the sales team kind of started saying Happydent not so happy, इसको बंद करो, ये बिक नहीं रहा हमसे, right? Then, like I mentioned, there was the passionate marketer who understood what the product had, and there was this whole idea of baking soda in the product, and the fact that could we claim sparkling smile in a different way, right? That's when the pivot happened, saying, we're trying too much to do with the chewing gum. Maybe there's a smart way to do this. And there's a second commercial we made, which also actually didn't work, but at least there was a spark of something that would, possibly go on to work later on. So let me show that commercial to you.
ये टूट गए तो क्या होगा, रिश्तों के धागे मत खींचो। टूट गया धागा चोर, धागा गिरा।
स्वेटर।
तुम इतना जो मुस्कुरा रहे हो, क्या गम है जिसको चबा रहे हो।
हैप्पीडेंट व्हाइट, चबा चिंगम, मुस्कुरा हरदम।
Yeah, this was around the year 2005. We were happy with this ad, but it still didn't move the needle too much. But at least we were getting some positive recall on the fact that, chaba chewing gum, muskura hardam. There was something in, that's when I say that, stay the course, persist. If you really believe strongly in something, you may have got the execution wrong, but don't move just because one ad has failed. Yeah? Don't move, just back yourselves a little bit. Again, this is not black and white advice. Yeah? If it's a terrible commercial, move on. But if you genuinely believe that you've got a germ of an idea, you should stay on, right? Then we made another ad. And this, I think, this is the one which turned around the brand. It's not the famous commercial which won Cannes and everything, but this is the one where we certainly knew that we had something, right?
Ismail. बराबर है। Ready? 1, 2, smile. घाघरा उठाओ। ऐसा बस। Smile. Smile. Hold.
अब बस जी।
Baby, एक और, please. Ready? 1, 2, smile. 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 Happydent white gum. Smile, please.
Yeah, so this one really kind of turned around our fortune. Obviously, the Ghagra Uthao Smile, this ad we can't make now. This is a sign of the times. But at least at that time, it passed the censor board and Doordarshan, for those you remember. And it really did well for us. Yeah. And then that's when sales started picking up. We knew we had this device then of the chewing gum and the sparkling smile. And then the brand kind of has its own trajectory. Yeah? So I'm going to play 3 back-to-back commercials, not talk through them. And we just talk for 2 minutes at the end, and that probably brings us at the end of the presentation. Yeah? So this is the one which one can't. Yeah, this is 84 seconds. We obviously, when we saw the commercial, we said, "Kya edit? Kaise chalayenge?" So we ran some 15, 20 spots. We spent at that time 15 lakh rupees, and then we didn't air it. Yeah. It was the talk of the town. We didn't need to. People were just, passing it around, and it became really, really famous. And obviously, that device is what has really worked, right? We built this into our variant strategy. So when we launched Happydent Wave, which is a filled gum, it had the same kind of tonality to it.
बचुआ
अरे ओ बचुआ मटका है मटका है रोशनी का मटका है एक नदी का टुकड़ा इसमें अटका है ठंडी ठंडी धार चले धारी और फुहार चले दांत तले दिया जले दांत तले दिया जले मटका है रोशनी का मटका है एक नदी का टुकड़ा इसमें अटका
जंगल में मंगल हो रहा है पर गांव में तो बिजली आई नहीं भैया
नया लिक्विड भरा हैप्पीडेंट वेव गम
Yeah, so you see the variant strategy kind of working, where you try to keep the same device. And then Happydent Wave in itself is now a very, very big brand for us. You'll see that both White and Wave are doing exceptionally well. There's a lot of discussion on authenticity and trust, where words like transparency and CSR are used with brands. Yeah? In my opinion, stuff like CSR is now done a lot. And I think the consumer is getting more and more cynical about brands who say, buy us and we'll donate some stuff and so on and so forth. I don't think that really brings authenticity and trust for brands. When your brand has traversed a certain distance and when the consumer has accepted the brand, I think there is a natural way for the brand to kind of get into that space, which we've done with Happydent. I think it's much more seamless and it's not force-fitted. Yeah? So this is our, let's say, last commercial.
Excuse me? Ladies seating. लिखा भी है.
हमें तो नहीं दिख रहा है.
लातों के भूत जब काबू ना आए थोड़ी सी लाइट मारो सच्ची सी हैप्पीडेंट व्हाइट, दिखा बत्ती सी, कर बात अच्छी सी.
Yeah. We are working on the next commercial. I hope we stay true to the legacy of this brand. Just to share with you.
Maybe.
Sorry, guys. Let me just. That. We're now. This is our business. We have a whole sugar portfolio. We have a sugar-free portfolio. We have Happydent White. We have Happydent Wave. We have Happydent in a flip-top box. Yeah, it's consistent advertising, staying true to what the brand stands for, using brand assets well. Yeah, understanding the core of the brand has allowed us to proliferate. We're extremely successful now in general trade and modern trade with this brand. And I hope that some of the stuff which I kind of alluded to in the 4 or 5 theory slides in this deck, you can reference on this case study and understand where we are, right? So, yeah, that's the brand summary in a nutshell. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Is there any, am I supposed to go? Yes, question and answers. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for questions and answers. In case you have a question related to this presentation, kindly raise your hands and we'll pass on a mic to you.
Hi, sir. Thank you for an excellent presentation. A quick question. You'd mentioned that distribution, given that it's an impulse purchase category, is extremely important. And you'd also mentioned that ITC hasn't really been able to crack it, despite obviously a fairly large distribution and so on. Would you have any insights into why you think that is?
No, I'm not going to comment on why ITC is not successful in this forum. I go back to Rohit Sharma when somebody asked him about Pakistan team. He said, "Unka coach banunga to bataunga abhi."
Okay, fair enough.
For sure. Thank you so much for the question. I really am not in a position to comment. Yeah.
Any further questions?
It's more a comment than a question. Excellent presentation. We really enjoyed it.
Much appreciated,
now,
sir.
you were fortunate to be given a target audience. I was given a situation where I did not have a target audience. I launched Uncle Chips.
Uncle Chips, huh?
Going by the experience of Americans hostess, we targeted the housewife.
Yeah.
The Indian housewife was not willing to spend 60 rupees a kilo.
Yes.
So we, by default, we landed with children and created the children's brand.
Yeah, you should be very proud of what you've done. It's a fabulous, fabulous brand, and we are all privileged that we have seen part of that journey. Yeah.
You mentioned children, but that was not handed over to us.
You created the category. Yes. Maybe you should be up here talking to this audience than me. Yeah.
Sir, your videos are very, very entertaining.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed.
They're not my videos. They're the ads of Perfetti. But
yeah.
my videos are certainly not entertaining.
I can't close my eyes. I have to continuously see that. My one question is, say about something about the company, Perfect.
अरे सर मैं पहली 5 स्लाइडों में वही बताया परफेटी के बारे में that we are.
How this name arrived?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Perfetti is.
You told about the company.
हाँ
but
जी.
not about the company. Yes.
It's a family name. It's a family
that's
name.
I want
Yeah. It's a family name. It belongs to a Mr. Perfetti, who sometimes visits India and sees all of us. He's Italian. हाँ जी. He's in Amsterdam. Head office is in Amsterdam. Hanji, because we bought a Dutch company called Van Melle, and then the office kind of merged into that office in Amsterdam. Yes.
Thanks, Mr. Nikhil. Siddhant this side, Srivastava. I've in the past worked with Mondelez and Mars as part of projects in the past. Great presentation. I just had one question regarding the Happydent product, right? So you said that utility is something which the consumer looks for.
Utility?
Yeah, utility as in like if like the shining part of it, or utility is something which would be something in consumer's mind. Cutting it short, why hasn't the target audience been someone who's in the emotional eating category, which means that the diet products which you have, chewing gums lead to 4 C's, emotional eating, like behavioral economics. Books like Mindless Eating talks about how gums help in curbing emotional eating. Why has that not been the USP? Also, the second USP could also have been around the, let's say, if someone is into aesthetic appeal, the probably, movement of muscles, facial muscles might help in, like, for lack of a better word, smoothing the jawline, so to say. So I was thinking on those lines as to why has that never been presented in India as, not just by Perfetti, but by anyone. As
it's all very relevant. It's a matter of making a choice. The instances that you mention of helping in memory, they're all anecdotal. Yeah, there's some research somewhere, and a very small part of the population understands that. When you're catering to a large population, you have to cater to the lowest common denominator. Communicating that a chewing gum actually improves jawline is incredibly difficult. Also very, very difficult to prove, or the memory part for it, right? So you need to be sure to craft your strategy in a way which is understood by a large group of people. Yeah, if I'm launching a product which sells at arguably, let's say, 10,000 rupees a kilogram, then your strategy could work, because even if a niche audience can deliver that value for you, but not at the lowest common denominator level, whereas mass consumption product. Ultimately, the product is still 1 rupee, right? So there has to be some amount of believability in what you're saying.